As a rule, it was a wonderful part and wonderful support given by other actors. And when you get that, that more or less ensures a nomination.
John Wayne wasn't just the Duke of Hollywood. He was a man with strong opinions, fierce loyalties, and zero tolerance for what he saw as betrayals of American values and the Western genre. Behind the iconic cowboy persona lurked a man who didn't hesitate to burn bridges with some of Hollywood's biggest names. From bitter professional rivalries to explosive political showdowns, Wayne's feuds became the stuff of legend. What drove this American icon to clash with his peers? The truth is more shocking than you ever imagined. These are the actors that had issues with John Wayne till he passed. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was respected. He had proven himself on television. He carried himself with discipline. When he moved into westerns, people watched. John Wayne had built the western genre for decades. He played men who stood for something. Right was right, wrong was wrong. The frontier had rules. Wayne's cowboys upheld them.
American westerns, I never could understand that. And I remember Don Siegel got in trouble when he was doing a film called The Shootist some years later, and he was working with John Wayne. The villain sneaks around the room, and John Wayne comes up behind him, and he says, "Then just shoot him." And he said, there's a long pause, and he said, John Wayne said, "You mean I shoot him in the back?" And he says, yeah, you shoot him, just shoot him, get rid of him, because you got 4 other guys. And he says, "I don't shoot anyone in the back." And Don made a terrible error. He said, Clint Eastwood would have shot him in the back. And he said, Wayne turned blue.
Eastwood made different choices. He worked with Sergio Leone. The films were called spaghetti westerns. The man with no name had no code. He killed for money. He worked both sides. The Old West became gray, not clear. Wayne watched this happen. For years, Wayne said nothing publicly. He saw the films. He saw audiences respond. The mythology he had built was being rewritten. Then came High Plains Drifter in 1973. The film had supernatural elements. The violence served no moral purpose. The hero was barely a hero. The town deserved what it got. Eastwood directed it himself. He made it deliberately. That was the moment that changed everything. Wayne wrote a letter. He put it in writing. The film did not represent the true spirit of the West. Eastwood was misguiding audiences about frontier life. The heroic mythology Wayne had spent his career building was being destroyed. Wayne didn't ask for a conversation. He delivered a verdict. Eastwood dismissed it. He said in interviews that Wayne didn't understand. Storytelling was evolving. The Western was changing. Eastwood wasn't apologetic. He wasn't interested in Wayne's approval. A project called The Hostiles could have brought them together. Someone proposed a collaboration. Wayne read the script. He rejected it outright. His disdain for Eastwood's style made any partnership impossible. The resentment had settled in. They never worked together. They never reconciled. The distance between them became permanent. But Wayne never accepted it. He never softened. Until the end, Eastwood remained what he had become in Wayne's eyes, the man who betrayed the West. So that's Eastwood, a generational war over what the West should be. But Wayne's next fight wasn't about genre. It was about the craft itself, and it exploded on live television. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando had talent. No one disputed that. He commanded the screen. He brought something new to acting. People called it revolutionary. John Wayne worked differently. He relied on instinct. He repeated takes until they felt right. He didn't study psychology. He didn't disappear into preparation. Acting was a craft, not therapy. Brando represented method acting. He analyzed characters. He searched for motivation. He made acting complicated. Wayne saw this as unnecessary. He saw it as pretentious. The work should be honest and direct. For years, this remained a professional disagreement. Wayne dismissed the method. Brando pursued it. They moved in different circles. They made different films. Then came the 1973 Academy Awards. Brando won Best Actor for The Godfather. He refused the award. He sent Sacheen Littlefeather to the stage instead. She spoke about Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans. The audience sat in silence. Backstage, Wayne watched.
The winner is Marlon Brando in The Godfather.
Accepting the award for Marlon Brando and The Godfather, Miss Sacheen Littlefeather.
What crossed the line wasn't the political statement itself. It was using the ceremony. It was rejecting the award. It was making the moment about protest instead of craft. Wayne moved toward the stage. 6 security guards held him back. He wanted to confront Littlefeather. He wanted to remove her himself. The image was clear. Wayne restrained, Brando absent, the message delivered. Wayne was a patriot. He supported American policy. He opposed communism. He believed in the country without qualification. Brando's activism looked like betrayal. Taking a stand at the Oscars looked like disrespect. Brando saw it differently. Wayne's conservatism was rigid. His patriotism was blind. The country needed criticism, not loyalty oaths. The divide became permanent that night. Brando would later call Wayne a great star. He acknowledged the screen presence. He recognized the charisma. But respect for talent doesn't erase contempt for values. Wayne never softened his position. Brando had crossed a line. He had politicized the craft. He had rejected what should be honored. He had made acting about everything except the work itself. The method was one thing. Wayne could dismiss it. The activism was another. Wayne couldn't forgive it. They represented different Americas, different Hollywoods, different definitions of what it meant to be an artist in public. The Brando. 6 guards couldn't stop Wayne's rage. But at least there was a reason. What came next had no reason at all, which makes it stranger. Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman was rising. He had won an Oscar for The French Connection in 1971. Critics praised his work. The audience responded. He represented the new style of acting that defined the 1970s. John Wayne and Hackman never worked together. They never shared a set.
Matter of fact, I'd said to the director early on, hey, maybe you've made a mistake here. You know, I can't really pop this guy in the mouth. And he said, well, we'll do it later on in the film then. So we redid a scene where I was supposed to be, you know, slapping this kid around. We did it at the end of the film 3 months later. Well, I was ready then. You know, after working in the streets of New York for 3 months, you're ready for about anything.
They apparently never had a conversation of significance. There was no incident, no professional conflict, no public exchange. Yet Wayne called him the worst actor in town. His daughter Asa recorded this in her book. Wayne didn't say it once in passing. He said it with conviction. He called Hackman awful. He meant it. Hackman's style was everything Wayne rejected. The performances were gritty. The characters were flawed and internal. Hackman worked through psychology. He built roles from the inside out. New Hollywood embraced this approach. Wayne built characters differently. He worked from presence. He worked from instinct. He commanded scenes through clarity, not complexity. What crossed the line wasn't a single role or statement. It was what Hackman represented. The method approach, the character-driven work, the nuance that Wayne saw as complication. Hackman embodied the shift in American acting. Wayne watched it happen. He rejected it completely. The judgment was absolute. Wayne's daughter noted he was convinced Hackman lacked talent. Not that he disliked the style. Not that he disagreed with the approach. Hackman couldn't act. Hackman never responded. He praised Wayne later, calling him one of the best actors ever. He highlighted Wayne's command of scenes. The respect was genuine. The animosity remained one-sided. Wayne never explained it fully. There was no inciting incident to point to. No betrayal. No personal slight. Just the work itself. Just what Hackman represented in Hollywood's evolution. Perhaps it was jealousy. Hackman succeeded in the new era while Wayne's style became the past. Perhaps it was purely aesthetic. Wayne saw acting one way. Hackman proved another way could win Oscars. Or perhaps Wayne simply decided. He watched Hackman work. He made his assessment. The verdict was final. Hackman was condemned without cause. But Wayne's harshest verdict wasn't personal. It was political. And the line she crossed couldn't be uncrossed. Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda came from Hollywood royalty. Her father, Henry Fonda, had worked with John Wayne. She had talent. She had a career. She was respected in the industry.
I will go to my grave regretting the fact that I was photographed sitting on an anti-aircraft gun. That is in the documentary at length, and I talk about it at length, and I have apologized at length many times over the years.
Then came Vietnam. Wayne supported the war. He believed in American military action. He made the Green Berets to defend that position. He spoke publicly about duty and patriotism. Fonda opposed the war. She joined the anti-war movement. She became vocal. She became visible. In 1972, she traveled to Hanoi. The photographs showed her sitting on a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun, smiling. The weapon was used against American pilots. The image circulated. Conservatives called her Hanoi Jane. That was the point of no return. Wayne called her actions treason. He said publicly that Fonda and her husband Tom Hayden should be terribly ashamed and saddened. They had contributed to the U.S. withdrawal. He called them idiots. This wasn't about acting styles or professional differences. This was about loyalty, about what it meant to be American during wartime. Fonda had chosen a side. Wayne had chosen the opposite. The line was drawn in Hanoi. Everything after that was consequence. Her father Henry opposed her extreme actions. He was a liberal, but he had limits. Wayne had none. The judgment was total. Photographs exist of Wayne and Fonda together at industry events. They're smiling. They appear civil. These moments changed nothing. Wayne never forgave the Hanoi visit. Fonda never apologized for it. The war ended. The nation moved forward. Wayne didn't. He had made his verdict. Fonda had betrayed American soldiers. She had given comfort to the enemy. The photographs proved it. No amount of craft or talent could erase that. No shared Hollywood history mattered. The divide was political, but the judgment was permanent. Wayne carried it until his death. Fonda remained what she had become, the actress who went to Hanoi. So that's Fonda, betrayal wrapped in a photograph. But one feud started before a single scene was shot. And it raises a question: can judgment form that fast? Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift arrived on the set of Red River in 1948 with a reputation. He was a New York stage actor. He had training. He had discipline. Director Howard Hawks had cast him as Wayne's adoptive son.
Do I make you nervous?
Yes.
John Wayne saw something else. Clift was urban. He was introspective. He approached acting through psychology. He prepared through analysis. Wayne saw this as pretension. Wayne called him an arrogant little bastard. He called him a wimp. He avoided Clift off set. The judgment formed before they shot a single scene. Clift represented everything Wayne distrusted: the method approach, the East Coast sophistication, the internal work that Wayne considered unnecessary. This was a Western. It required presence, not introspection. There were also the rumors. Clift's sexuality remained private, but whispers existed. In that era, suspicion was enough. Wayne's discomfort may have extended beyond professional differences. What crossed the line wasn't a specific incident. It was the casting itself. Clift playing a cowboy. Clift playing Wayne's son. The role required toughness. Wayne didn't believe Clift had it. Hawks understood the tension. He used it. The film's climactic fistfight between their characters became a test. Hawks framed it as David versus Goliath. Clift trained extensively in riding and fighting. He prepared to hold his own. The cameras rolled. Clift performed. Wayne watched. The film worked. Red River became a classic. The on-screen dynamic benefited from the real-life tension. Clift proved he could carry the role. Wayne admitted grudgingly that Clift was effective. But admission isn't acceptance. The feud dissolved because it had to. The film was finished. They had no reason to work together again. Wayne's initial skepticism had been noted. Clift's performance answered it. Yet the distance remained. Wayne never embraced Clift's approach. He never revised his first impression completely. Clift was effective in spite of his method, not because of it. They went separate directions after the Red River. Clift continued his internal, psychological work. Wayne continued his instinctual presence. The clash of styles had produced one successful film. That was enough. Wayne's judgment softened, but never disappeared. Clift had proven competent. That was the limit of Wayne's concession. The moment Wayne called him a wimp, the relationship was defined. Everything after was professional necessity, not reconciliation. That's Clift, skepticism that softened but never disappeared. But Wayne's last feud wasn't even his own. He inherited it, and that loyalty cost more than any personal grudge. Clark Gable. Clark Gable was the king of Hollywood. He had the title. He had the career. He had earned his status through decades of leading roles. John Wayne and Gable never worked together. They never had a direct conflict. They moved in similar circles but maintained distance. The problem wasn't between them.
So he's got more degrees than a thermometer. So he speaks 7 languages. So he's read every book. So what? The important thing is he's had no experience. He didn't start at the bottom and work up. That's the only way you can learn.
John Ford was Wayne's mentor. Ford had shaped Wayne's career. He had directed Wayne's most important films. Ford's opinion carried absolute weight. In 1953, Ford and Gable clashed during Mogambo. Ford found Gable arrogant. Ford found him difficult on set. The professional relationship broke down. That was the moment that changed everything. Wayne adopted Ford's judgment completely. He called Gable an idiot. He said Gable was too stupid to do anything except act. Wayne's daughter Asa confirmed this. Her father's loyalty to Ford fueled the entire opinion. Wayne also criticized Gable's war service. Gable had served in the Air Force, but the service was non-combat. Wayne saw this as insufficient. He saw it as cowardice. Wayne's own service had been deferred. This didn't matter. What mattered was Ford's position. Wayne later offered Gable a role in The Alamo. Gable declined. The rejection deepened Wayne's resentment. It confirmed what he already believed. Gable was grieving during the war years. His wife Carol Lombard had died. His choices reflected that grief. Wayne wasn't interested in context. Ford had made his judgment. Wayne enforced it. The feud was inherited, not earned. Gable never wronged Wayne personally. He wronged Ford. In Wayne's world, that was the same thing. Loyalty meant total loyalty. Ford's enemies became Wayne's enemies. Ford's grudges became Wayne's grudges. There was no separation. Gable held the title King of Hollywood. Wayne was building his own legend. Perhaps professional rivalry played a role. Perhaps Gable's status bothered Wayne more than he admitted. But the core remained. Ford had drawn the line. Wayne stood behind it. They never reconciled because Wayne never sought reconciliation. This wasn't his fight to resolve. It was Ford's fight. Wayne simply fought it on Ford's behalf. Gable died in 1960. Wayne's opinion never softened. The judgment had been Ford's. Wayne kept it. Once someone crossed Wayne's inner circle, they were finished. Gable crossed Ford. That made him Wayne's enemy by inheritance. The loyalty was absolute. The verdict was permanent. John Wayne drew lines and never crossed back. He judged Eastwood for betraying the West. He condemned Brando for politicizing the craft. He dismissed Hackman without cause. He called Fonda a traitor. He doubted Clift from the start. He inherited Ford's hatred of Gable and made it his own. These weren't disagreements. They were verdicts. Was Wayne protecting something worth protecting, or was he simply unable to accept change? You decide.